Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be doing my May and June wrap-up. So I have missed quite a few wrap-ups in the past, and that's just because I haven't been reading as much as I normally would. However, May was the month where I really got back into reading. June I fell off a little bit more, but that's because of final exams and school ending in that month, and I was just super busy. However, I was able to read 13 books in those 2 months, and I'm not going to show them in the exact order that I read them, just because some of them go together, and I do have a lot of books. So it's just going to be one big collective wrapped up. So let's get started. So the first 2 books that I read were Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda and Leon the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I read both of these back to back just because Leon the Offbeat had just come out in May, and I thought it was perfect that I finished Simon right before that. I enjoyed both of these books so much. I gave Simon 5 out of 5 stars and I gave Leon the Offbeat 4 out of 5 stars. They were great. I loved following up with the characters. I have not read The Upside of Unrequited yet, but I do plan on reading that really soon. I love this world so much. All of the characters. They're like my children. I love them so much. And the stories were super relatable and they were awkward, and it was actually one of the best contemporary duologies, companion novels that I've ever read. The only thing that I have like a disagreement about between these 2 books is that I loved the romance in Simon. I thought that it was perfect, and I love that it continued in Leon the Offbeat. Like, it was so adorable, and just seeing them together, it was like something that everybody I think wanted to see their relationship continue. However, in Leon the Offbeat, I didn't really enjoy the pairing. I don't have anything against it, I just really never shipped any of the pairings that were made or almost made, but overall I really did enjoy these 2 books and I would definitely reread them. Next, I read All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This book follows Violet and Finch, who both have suicidal tendencies, and one day they meet on the top of a bell tower and they begin this really awkward, strange, but really adorable friendship, and I actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I know that a lot of people enjoyed it, but personally I just didn't think it would be my cup of tea. However, I did want to read it because it was Mental Illness Awareness Month, and I was just thinking it's a really hype book and I might as well go for it. And I ended up really enjoying it. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The ending shook my world. It was so heartbreaking. I didn't know what to think. I was just in shock. I just didn't think it was going to happen. I couldn't have seen it coming. The only thing that made me like dock a star off was the representation of depression just wasn't accurate to me personally. Like, I've read books that have had way better explanations or visuals or showings of depression, and I just believe that it wasn't as accurate as it could have been. It's just a personal thing for me. If I were to go to a book for ways to help me cope, I would not pick this one. However, the story was really great. Then I read When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was not my favorite contemporary. I feel like I read so many contemporaries. I do hold them to a certain threshold because I did have really high expectations for this book. I thought the story was okay. It wasn't my cup of tea. I've never really been into things like technology competition kind of thing. I was never really into it, and I decided to read it because I got it on audiobook, and it was a really quick audiobook. I flew through it. I didn't agree with certain aspects of the book. Like, I didn't like that Dimple continued to like hit Rishi even if he told her it was uncomfortable or he didn't like it. She would continue to. She was trying to be overpowering, but it just didn't work. She came off as very annoying to me. I enjoyed Rishi as a character. He was very nice. I just feel like he allowed himself to be pushed around by her a lot. One thing I really did enjoy was all of the references to like Indian culture. Like, it was so great. I enjoyed it so much, but overall, mixed with the story, I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars, and I probably just wouldn't read this one again. Then I read The Hidden Oracle and The Dark Prophecy, both by Rick Riordan. These are books 1 and 2 in the Trials of Apollo series. I read this one in May and this one in June. Both of these were on audiobook. You guys know that I really do enjoy reading Rick Riordan's books on audiobook because they're just really enjoyable and I love the characters. I gave The Hidden Oracle 4 out of 5 stars and The Dark Prophecy 3 out of 5 stars. For some reason, there was definitely a disconnect between me and both of these books. The Dark Prophecy Prophecy more than The Hidden Oracle. Like, I definitely just stopped listening to audiobooks for a little while with The Dark Prophecy, or I probably would have been able to finish it in May. I enjoyed this story, I just didn't have any motivation to read it. Both of these books follow the god Apollo, who has been banished to Earth in mortal form by Zeus, and he meets Meg McCaffrey, which is probably one of the funniest characters I've ever met, and they have to go on a quest in order for Apollo to regain his godlyhood. And I definitely enjoyed them. I just feel like I wish I read them at a better time. I enjoyed them less than I thought I would. I just had really high expectations and they weren't met. Next, I read Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. I was really looking forward to this book because you guys know that I read Wonder Woman Warbringer back last year, and I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy this one as much, which I was expecting because I'm not really into the whole Batman story. I was way more into Wonder Woman. And I really enjoyed the storyline, though. I think it was great. It was just kind of slow for me, and it took me a really long time to read it, but I really loved Marie Lu's writing style. She's one of my favorite authors, you guys know that, and the story overall was really great. It had a lot of substance, and it was just slow moving, and that's why I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to be reading Catwoman by Sarah J. Maas next month. I read Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. This book deals with Islamophobia. I've never read a book about Islamophobia or a Muslim American teenager. This book really just followed a girl named Maya who is doing really great in school. She's having regular issues that teenagers have, like her parents want her to move out and things like that. However, a terrorist attack happens and the prime suspect does have her last name. And it gets kind of dark. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars because I think the way that it dealt with Islamophobia was amazing and very true. It didn't hold back at all, which is something I really enjoyed. The storyline other than the Islamophobia wasn't the greatest to me. Like I said, I do rate contemporaries a bit more critically than I rate anything else because I just love them so much. And I just think that the topic and the way it handled it was amazing, and if you were to ever want a book about Islamophobia, I definitely recommend this one. I read Paperweight by Meg Haston. This one follows a main character named Stevie who is dealing with anorexia nervosa. I've never read a book with a character who has an eating disorder, and I'm so glad this was my first. I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. One of the best contemporaries I think I've ever read in my entire life. I've been recommending it left and right. I really enjoyed the author's writing style, and it was so descriptive without being overly descriptive. There are certain books that I read about mental illness where I wish the author was a bit more descriptive, and Meg Haston hit it right on the nail. It was so real. I loved the character's backstory more than anything because most mental illnesses do have triggers, and the fact that we really went into that was something I personally really, really enjoyed. Overall, it was real. It made me cry. It made me laugh, and most of all, the main character was so relatable, and she was really great, and I loved reading about her journey. Then I read People Like Us by Dana Maley. If you guys have seen any of my previous videos, you would know how excited I was to read this book. It is a YA thriller that deals with an all-girls private school, and one girl is contacted by a student who is killed. And she must complete a whole list of tasks, and if she fails to complete these tasks, then her biggest, darkest secret will be revealed. And I really did enjoy this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did predict the ending. I did predict like who was doing it. But I didn't have a problem with it because I actually personally really did enjoy the entire story. The characters were not my cup of tea. I didn't love them, but I didn't mind reading about them. The only thing is I feel like the main character was very unreliable, and not in the good way where you just want to question everything. I just think that she said one thing and then she contradicted it, and then she didn't know things that I feel like she should have known that she said she knew. But overall, I think it was pretty good. Then the next 2 books I read were A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. You guys know that I love the A Court of Thorns and Rose series so much, more than life. These characters are my actual children. I'm so attached to them. I haven't been this attached to characters since Mara Dyer or Harry Potter. I don't really remember too many of my thoughts from A Court of Wings and Ruin because it is a very long book, and I listened to it on audiobook over the span of about a month or two. So it was a long time. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because I believe it took a really long time for action to start happening, opposed to the other 2 books where there was a lot of tension and there was just always something going on. And in this book, I just think it was a lot of figuring out and a lot of backstory, but not for our characters. So for me, it just wasn't as attention retaining. But in A Court of Frost and Starlight, I know a lot of people had a lot of mixed opinions about it, but I ended up loving it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it for what it was. You know, I know it was marketed as the bridge between the first 3 books and the last 3 books of the series, but it just showed our characters being happy, and I was so happy about that. There was a couple things that I was just kind of like, about, but overall it was a great book. I just enjoyed reading about them, seeing them happy, and that's really all that mattered. It was a nice, light book. Last but not least, I read Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This book follows 2 sisters who reside on the island of Trista, and for years they've been wanting to go to this mystical game called Caraval, led by Ringmaster Legend, and they've been writing letters, and finally Scarlet, the oldest sister, got a response. So they escape their father and they get to Caraval, but it's nothing like what they expect. Her other sister, Donatella, goes missing, and it's very interesting. I love this book way more than I was expecting. I didn't think it was going to be my cup of tea per se. I did listen to it on audiobook, which is what I do with books that I'm kind of iffy about, but I've already read the sequel that just came out, Legendary. It was so good. It was whimsical, and it just had me thinking in so many directions. It was confusing, but in the best way possible. I was questioning everything, like, who is Legend? Where could Tella be? The romance was absolutely mind-blowing. It was so adorable. I was skeptical about it at certain points. It was a lot, but it was great. 5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it so much, and I also enjoyed Legendary, which I will talk about in my July wrap-up. So guys, those are the 13 books that I read in the months of May and June. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and all that other great stuff. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye!